Ready?
Yeah.
Let's go. Imagine your life at peak impact. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You have all the power. Everything you want is like running smoothly, even more than you imagine. Just the best case scenario. I want you to draw your impact at that moment.
Draw an impact.
Yeah, and the rule is you just can't use words. You can make abstract shapes that represent something, and like it can also just be like emotion, whatever it is, put it on the paper.
Yeah. So
Okay.
basically,
Mhm.
um, the thing that looks like weird stuff down here, where is it? Uh,
You got
Here
it. Yeah. Uh-huh.
is basically my peers, my fans. So if you want to say my clients, whatever you want to call them,
Hmm.
and they're certainly under a sun, which is kind of like represents my impact, um, and a happy face because now it's getting blurry. Because my impact should be something positive. That's very important to me. So it should be something that delivers value to people. And this is supposed to be a star, but it doesn't look like a star with a super base logo.
Okay.
Um, so but that's only part of it. I first thought it's gonna be part of the sun, but it's not my. It's a big part, but it's not the only part because
You can
the
put it
sun.
down. Yeah.
Yeah, the sun is more
Mhm.
like a general thing. So basically, I try to shine, and this is something like I know it sounds weird, and sometimes it sounds arrogant, but I really truly believe in me bringing value to the people. Some people think I'm jealous or whatever. I don't care. I'm not. I'm actually trying to make this community a better community. This is also why I'm not gonna say his name, but why I'm sometimes being critical towards the content some people deliver,
Mhm.
because I want to have a community that is capable, that is learning the right things. And I'm not saying my things are the right things, but it's certainly right to say protect your customers' data. I think that's
Mhm.
something that we can agree on, that that's important in this community. So, but
Absolutely.
besides that, my impact is gonna be should be positive impact, and I should reach many people to also enable many people, and also the most important part about impact is you never grow with yourself alone.
Hmm.
So you grow with other people. Let it be people like you, Said, or let it be people like fans, um, clients, whatever. Because also end of day, clients are going to um propose you to other clients, right? Refer you, do referral, whatever. So it's very important to also like to have this sort of balance of take and give.
Hmm.
And this is somewhat my impact should be. And the sun again represents all of this being in a mostly positive way.
So, like the sun is, you picked it because it's like radiates it, not necessarily, and there's like this intertwining aspect of it where you're like, hey, my impact is not just me, it's the ripple kind of
Yeah.
ripple outwards and inwards, like people interacting with me,
Yes.
me interacting with people, and us as a community impacting, I guess, the world, or like.
Yes. Yes. End of day is the world. And this is what the sun represents, because I don't know much people that hate sunlight. Maybe a few, but those are
Yeah.
not the ones that I would
Okay.
probably work with. So the sun is the positive, not just the widespread part, but also the positive part. Because there's some
Hmm.
people, again, I don't want to say names,
Hmm.
but there's some people that think like it's about me only. So
Hmm.
it's about me making money,
Yeah.
and I'll do that for whatever sake. And that would basically put rather not even a moon. The moon is nice. It would rather put um comet.
Hmm.
Uh
Yeah, exactly. Like destroy the world. Yeah,
yeah.
because your the selflessness aspect is important for you.
Yeah.
And how come, like, what is your vehicle for that? Like, what is your,
Um there's a few vehicles, but if I had to choose one, it's content, providing more value, more content, which for example, I just started a newsletter and I have so much content, but I will do it this week. There's no doubt I will do it. But I haven't, and I could have done it last week. Why didn't I do it? So
so
I
that's the
told
struggle.
myself, yeah, I told myself I got other things to do, which is true because I'm actually I have to balance out some stuff with client work because I'm on the way on having to pay the bills
Hmm.
for myself, which is important, right? So,
Absolutely, yeah.
but the thing is, my vehicle to that path is also being extremely nice and nice to people. And this is why I also you probably have seen my post from yesterday, and I tried to put it in a positive way. So I criticized someone, but I tried to put it positively,
Hmm.
even though I just like even today after like again I knew kind of it went viral
Hmm.
because it was clear from the other ones, but again, I don't profit from that. It wasn't my
Hmm.
goal. And also, like, I muted it immediately
Yeah.
because it also doesn't help me. It doesn't help me. So, and there's something interesting that I noticed yesterday, which had nothing to do with business, which was
Hmm.
interesting. I sold a keyboard.
Okay.
So I sold my old keyboard, which is basically the same as this one, just like another generation.
Hmm.
And there was a guy who who asked me if he can pick it up, and I was like, oh man, like the way he writes, it's just gonna be another prick, and like we'll try. And then he told me like he should have ringed my bell, but he said like he's on the streets. And I'm like, dude, why are you not coming to my house? Like on which
Hmm.
street and whatever and whatnot. So I got somewhat agitated. And I was these negative vibes, understandably, because I had like a stressful day. But
Hmm.
important part is I figured I just went out and like I found his car. It was a
Hmm.
bit weird, but anyways, he was the nicest guy. I swear.
I
He
mean,
was so happy. He was so happy. He was
yeah.
so happy. Like he also said, sorry, I just like couldn't locate the building and
Hmm.
whatever, whatnot. And I said, like, just give me 20 because I didn't have time. It was for like 20, I don't know what,
Hmm.
30, whatever. I said, like, just give me 20, that's all right. So
Yeah.
you can see, like, I don't even want the money. I just wants to
Hmm.
get it done. And he said, like, no, take the 25, take the 25. So what I noticed is the way he acted suddenly made that whole experience different. And that made me think that evening, actually, even though I was stressed, it
Hmm.
made me think because I had the same experience with a cashier the other day who was overly nice, which is unusual. But if you're being nice to people, it's it's no news, but it's just something you have to be you remind yourself if you're being nice to people. Hence, if you provide value instead of like criticism, for example. I know it's
Hmm.
correct criticism, but does it help? Probably not. So will people follow you for that? Probably not.
And
And
then
if they,
there's levels too,
yeah,
like your book. I'm reading that right now, and I'm loving. Like,
that's great.
it's it's just the the effort it took you to put that together, right? And then when you deliver that content after, the discipline of creating it and putting in the time and putting together a substantial piece of content and delivering it to the right person, that impact is much larger than the impact of smiling to someone or whatever. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's
Yeah.
it's it's levels, and it's also uh energy management. Like sometimes, if I used to be very nice with everyone, and even people that are not nice, especially socially, not like online, you just ignore them and move on, right?
Yeah.
But socially, when I'm out and someone is, whatever, I used to always like put on this, hey, oh, and I try to get the story. I try to be chatty. I try to ask good questions and whatever. And that is draining over
It is.
long,
Yeah.
yeah, over a long stretch. It's
Mm.
draining. And then when I stop doing that and just doing things that like the vibes are right, and being honest, not in a dickhead way, but just like, oh, this guy doesn't want to hang out with me. I don't even like him. Oh, great to see you, and move on. There's
Yeah.
no extra. And that kind of management will help preserve the energy for better things, right?
Right.
Because imagine the guy you go to, you saw the keyboard was a complete dickhead. It would have burned the rest of your night.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that kind of protection becomes key when you're developing content like that, pillar content, like, your book, or, you're doing a video series. I think you should definitely do a course, like a video course, like that is up your alley. You have a book, all right, you know, and I told you, like, when author of this book already establishes all the expertise you say, anyways. So content, obviously you have a gift for, you're really good at breaking down a system, because like I finished the first chapter and it was fantastic. You were like, this is how Superbase works under the hood, so you kind of get the lay of the land, and then we're gonna break these down one by one. And you laid it out, and you kind of designed the map very
Yeah.
simply, very user friendly, you
Yeah.
know?
Because I want to jump into that because
Yeah.
there's one gift I'm aware of because people gave me that feedback 1,000 times now. So it must be true somewhat. Is I come from a place where I often didn't understand things. Um, and I still am, obviously, when I'm learning new things, I'm like, how can this even be so complicated? And this is a gift in two ways. First, not so important for the content, more important for my business, is I have an extremely good gut feeling how things should be.
Mhm.
Hence, I have a good gut feeling what things to avoid and where to jump in. So, because there's people that like jump in into every new technology and I don't. And for the last years, it worked out extremely well to jump into the right technologies just because
Mhm.
of my gut feeling. Um, for example, Superbase.
Mhm.
Um, the second thing, more important, is because of that, because I know how it feels to not understand things. People tell me, like, for example, just last week, someone told me, like, you were the only one who explained it as such that I could understand it. For example, one of my Superbase videos as well on YouTube, one was like, why isn't this in the docs? Even
Mhm.
Paul retweeted it and said like he's doing a better job than the dogs. Um, so that's a gift that I'm having, and that's why I agree with you that um, I should do a course, obviously, very obviously, but I also I need to put out more content, and I can do it. I will do it.
Yeah, you need a content
Period.
strategy for sure that
Yes.
is effective
Yes.
100%, but you also need to, it's like Michael Jordan, right? Like he's really good at dunking, just for example, right?
Yeah.
And you can't be really good or shooting is maybe even a better example. You're really good at shooting a basketball. Right. You need time to go shoot both in practice and in prime time. You know what I mean? So if you're really good at breaking down complex systems and teaching them, that is a talent that is underused, or maybe not underused. You did write a book, so I'm just saying that it doesn't have to define you for the rest of your life. There can be a new thing that you go and explore and dissect and break down, and then you know textbook number two. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
this is all, and I'm one more question, and then we're gonna jump into the next question. Okay, just with this, but this lines up a lot with uh, academia, right? Like, have you thought of yourself as like a professor? Like, is that something that excites you or no?
I'm doing that.
Oh, you are doing that.
So- yes.
Okay.
But um and that's the same thing with all of the other things that I've been doing.
Mm.
There's a great repertoire of things that I have been doing, which many people aren't aware of. Um, but it's just so hard to balance the right things. So
But a
just to
lot
give
of
you
the top
details.
universities pay for PhD
Yeah.
level stuff.
And
Like
that's
MIT, for
something.
example, pays for the entire
Right, right,
thing with
right.
residency,
So
with everything.
that's something I still have to explore because um what I've been doing so far, but the strategy might be different. But let me just tell you what I've been doing. So the even back then when I was studying myself at third semester, so in the middle of it, there was this mentorship possibility.
Mm.
So I taught other students maths, which was great. And I taught other students computer science, which was great. And when I early on noticed that people get what I'm saying, it was great. So then, just when was it? Like 4 years ago? I don't know.
Mm.
Um, I don't even know how. I don't remember the how anymore. But basically, a university got in touch with me, saying like, "Don't you wanna basically be an adjacent professor?"
Mm.
And so I did that again. Same feeling. Like I was amazed. I was actually amazed myself. Like
Mm.
what I taught them and what was the output. I was like, the fuck, in a positive way.
Yeah.
Like one group even like they created a game.
Yeah.
Like the
Amazing.
fuck, this is your
Yeah.
first semester.
Yeah.
Um, the problem with that is like that was a great experience, but the problem with that is even the amount of money um that I negotiated with them was just enough to not feel pain. I'm not sure if you're getting it. Like just
Yeah,
enough
not feel
to
poor. Like basically, like you can pay rent, you can buy groceries, you can
yeah,
go out
not even
twice a
I
month.
could no not with that. Like if I
Yeah.
do that alone, I
Yeah.
couldn't. So
Mhm.
so it was just enough to kind of like say, okay, it's just like 5 days of my month so I can do it, and it's like fun to do it. But it's like it was like very low money. Like if I can even tell you the amount, I think it was I think it was 65 US dollars per hour, so basically nothing, right?
Yeah,
Nothing
what
to
is
live.
that? Yeah,
Um,
per
it was a
semester,
great
like per month.
experience.
What is that?
Yeah,
That's nothing.
yeah, yeah, that's nothing. So, it was a great experience to like have it in my CV, right? And to like have tried it. But generally, and that's something I noticed with other universities that I then got in touch with, at least here in Germany. You talked about MIT, that's
Mm,
different. Um, Here in Germany, and also like for example course providers, which like there's in Germany. I'm not sure if that's an international one, but there's some like master school in Germany which do stuff like that.
mm,
And even them, they paid like nothing. So I had to even break. I was doing it, it was really fun, but I had to tell them like, sorry, I just can't
mm,
do it anymore. It's like
yeah,
with that kind of money I can't do it. Yeah.
yeah.
But
All right.
Ju- just one
Um,
more thing, one little
yeah.
thing, mini little thing is
Hmm.
like, I'm not planning to actively drive that. I have to cut a few things. I'm not planning to actively drive that because you also mentioned MIT and stuff like that. So I have a different strategy in my mind, which is like, I'm going to focus on the other things, like the content stuff and whatever. And what's already happening due to the content that I'm providing is that people get in touch with me, and that's more of the strategy. If they want me,
Hmm.
they'll contact me somewhat.
I like it. Yeah, because I know that the more prestigious the university, if especially if you commit to a PhD program, like you don't have a master's, right? But if you do a master's of science plus PhD full ride, they'll pay for the whole thing
Mm,
and give you a place to stay in the dorms. So you kind of like all of your income is food money,
that's
right?
great. Yeah,
And it's you can research whatever you want, you know,
that's true.
and like for what 5 years.
Yeah,
Imagine every day you go, you're with the smartest people in your field. You can talk to them office hours, you know, every day you can book an office hour with a different professor, you know, that is like pioneer of his field and like get so much. And, you know, if you can figure that out at some point, and you can also still do your consulting and content and all that, you
you're
know, so
making it sound very tasty.
it is amazing. It's 100% like if you have that opportunity, especially with you already have a textbook, you know, you have the credentials to pursue this path. So just something to think about. So first question after the drawing question is what opportunities do you want to try in that like peak? Like you've reached there, right? You're at the top, everything you want. What at that point, what is the best opportunity that can come knocking at your door?
It's a little bit of paradoxical because if you're saying like I already reached everything that I wanted, what else would I? You get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, yeah, but imagine you see life as the destination is death, right?
yeah,
So you got to do something, right? And it's much more fun to
Hmm.
just keep creating, collaborating, you know,
that's
influencing
that's
all that, you know.
that's true.
So
Um,
you know, if you're saying, "Oh, you reached," you know, we I can say, "Oh yeah," but
I'm
better
done.
than nothing.
I'm
You know
done.
what I mean? Just
No,
humor me, like you're at like the top
actually,
of your
so
influence list.
well, so say at the top of my influence, I haven't done all of the things that I wanted to do because otherwise could just die, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But
Right.
as a just brainstorming exercise of, let's say you're saying this sounds juicy, right? You're at MIT, right? You're a professor at MIT,
Yes. Yes.
and you have your product running, you have your consulting going, and then someone picks up the phone call, and it's the most amazing phone call ever, and they want you to jump in on something. What is that phone call? Who is it? What is the?
Quite honestly, well, that would be something which is always my dream, to be honest, in the long run, is like having all of those opportunities, having all that money and whatever whatnot to actually help people in this world by so it would, if it would be someone calling me like, what do you think of like, we got this school which we want to build, which is going to teach people in well, badly developed African regions to basically to basically help them build businesses, for example, like make Africa the new Silicon Valley, whatever whatnot. That's something that I would love to do, because I truly believe in well, not just like we can already right now, given the money that we have, we can end world hunger if we really want it. But that's not, I'm more in the enable people. That's also part of my concept, by the way. The
Mhm.
consulting concept that I always tell my clients is, I don't implement part of it, I do, but I help you help yourself. And this is what I generally love doing. I help other people to help themselves. So if I was in a position where I have a lot of money, a lot of connections, I would probably use those connections to do good stuff in this world. Even if it would be like, I don't know, wild thinking, like uh, helping people to develop drones to do better farming.
Mhm.
Something that helps the world, because everybody profits if
But
we
that's a
help
different
the
thing, right?
world.
Like you just said something at the end. You just you just snuck it in there. It's a totally different path, right? Like one is curriculums and understanding human psychology and understanding how to enable them, I guess, in an academic way. But then you said, oh, helping someone develop drone technology. We're now talking design, consultancy, innovation, product based.
Yeah, but the idea is still in the long run, like
Mhm.
if thinking of that position,
Mhm.
like I don't need much money. That's always what I'm saying. Like, I want to have a lot of money
You
to
have
be
all the
able
money.
to,
Don't think of
yeah,
money. All the
yeah,
money you
right.
want, you have.
Right, right.
Okay.
So,
Then
but I
what?
don't need it. I don't need it. So, and
Yeah.
that's the part where basically I'm using all of those connections and money to do stuff like helping people without needing more money, right? Without requesting, but you have to pay me this and that amount, enabling projects, whatever kind of, which I can support with my expertise, right?
Mhm.
So let it be academic stuff that I'm like, I can't do it on my own, right? So, but
Mhm.
I would use my expertise to help other people. Like, this is, for example, this is how you would grow the CS school in, I don't know, this and that African region. Doesn't even have to be African, could be Vietnam, whatever.
Or
Whatever
whatever.
region.
Whole region
Yeah,
in
it doesn't
Germany.
matter.
It
Yeah,
doesn't
or
matter.
poor
Like,
region in Germany. Yeah,
yeah,
right, right.
just like
So underdeveloped region in
yeah,
Germany as well.
underprivileged people,
Yes,
you want to activate them and enable them to
exactly.
just be a peak performer in terms of production and contributing to the world.
Right, right. Because not many people have that possibility. And this is a big business loss as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I have those people and they basically trust me and I gain their trust, I can then again build more projects with them if they've been taught all of the good stuff and they come back and go like, David, can I work with you? So we will build more of those projects, and there are gonna be like some sort of followers who do the same and who aspire the same.
I love it. Amazing. Okay. What is your proudest moment in your life?
Oh, that's a tough question, man. My proudest moment in my life. That's a tough one. And do people tell you that that's a tough one?
I strive for every question to be a tough question.
Uh, because in theory, I would probably mention multiple ones if you would let me, but
Oh yeah, you can go. You can list all of them. But we'll
well,
start with your number one. Proudest.
I think actually I would probably say like one of the very recent things which is top of my mind right now is like finishing the book because people just can't I couldn't, but people can't believe and I understand that because again, I couldn't. How much work this was. It is impossible to imagine. Like you have no even if you would try to imagine, you cannot because just to give one sample for people to understand. Imagine there's 500 pages.
Hmm.
And now imagine that for even one page at some points, I had to just check hours of source code just because I'm a man of truth. I didn't want to put just like, I think it is like that, but I actually had to figure out stuff in the source code. So it was insane work, partially. And then the writing and whatever whatnot. So I'm pretty proud that I finished it because there were a lot of moments where even at 80% I was about to say I'm not gonna finish it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I'm
How long did
pretty
it take
proud
you?
I did it. 1 year. 1 year of
Amazing.
basically
Wow.
every day writing, including the
Uh,
weekends and nights.
Amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah. And the second thing that comes into my mind is actually finishing the bachelor's, not because it was hard, but
Hmm.
because I felt it was a like just great experience, and I was proud that I did it because I had a lot of experience before the bachelor's. So it was like I was very proud of even deciding to do it because I could have been like, there's some people on social media that again cannot understand it because they didn't do it. And I said to myself, maybe I'm missing out. So there was
Hmm.
that maybe in my head,
Hmm.
right? So I said, like, maybe I'm learning something. If not,
Yeah.
then I'll see. I can still drop out, right?
Yeah.
And it was great because I surely haven't learned much of innovative new tech, I would say. But what I did learn is I got deep down into maths,
Hmm.
great experience, all that deep down understanding how, for example, a circle works, right? Just a circle. How is it composited? How is it
Hmm.
com-
Composed.
composed? Sorry.
Hmm.
Yeah. Or the exponential function and stuff like that,
Hmm.
and how it actually then turns into being used in actual, because people always say I'm never gonna need it. You will if you're doing like great stuff, for example, like vector calculation in a geographic system, for example, because you wanna, I don't know, calculate distances around the globe and whatever
Hmm.
whatnot. So you
Yeah.
will if you want those
Absolutely. Yeah. You want
projects.
to represent 3D objects and 4D objects and all of that.
Right,
Like 100%.
right.
Yeah.
So that was great. And the only reason I didn't do the masters is actually there's a very plain reason. Um, that is, I needed money.
Yeah.
Very plain. I'm not coming from a rich family, so at one point I didn't want to basically how to say it? In Germany you would say lay on the back of my mother, but
Hmm.
in English it doesn't represent, but like
Yeah, yeah.
um
You don't live in your parents' house for the rest of your life.
yeah.
Yeah.
What come again?
You don't want to live in your parents' house for the rest of your life. You want to
Oh,
be
it's not
independent.
it's not the living part. It's more like the that's one part, but it's also like the part I don't wanna like drain the money of my mom,
Hmm.
right? So so that was okay, but I'm still open to doing it. It just as you said, like the MIT stuff sounds very interesting.
It's not just
Um
MIT though. It's MIT, Caltech, all the big like
I know, yeah,
all
yeah,
the
yeah.
yeah, all the big universities.
I
Like
just meant like the
yeah, yeah.
general thing sounds
Yeah, yeah,
very interesting. Yeah,
that line.
the
Yeah.
idea. So that was one thing, and I think the third part is, and we can stop it there, is like um that I I will take I will go back to my roots because I've always been like that. I've always been the self-employed guy, and
Mhm.
I caught myself in the being employed
Mhm.
um scenario somewhat, which was okay and which was planned, but I
Mhm.
caught myself being caught in the fear. Like,
Mhm.
what if I don't make enough money? What if I don't know, whatever. All of those fears that come with being employed.
Mhm.
Those fears that manifest, you can't live without being employed,
Mhm.
right? So, and I'm pretty proud of that I said like, Sure, I can do it. No
Yeah,
problem."
amazing. What's your story?
Starting from,
Whatever you want.
okay. Um, I come from I don't want to say poor family because I, I wasn't poor by the means of hunger.
We're not comparing globally. For you, you
No,
felt
I'm
poor. Yeah.
just saying by the means of hunger. So what you have to understand, and I'm not ashamed to talk about that, is, and this is something great actually with children, is I had no concept of comparing myself, which was great. So the way I've grown was actually the way my mom taught me was great, because when you came to me and I had like shitty trousers or like dirty shoes, it not even a moment it would have come to my mind to say like, look at this guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't have that concept of comparing, of even looking at you like down looking at you,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But I experienced it when I was in school and people said, boy, what kind of schools, what kind of shoes are those? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't grasp the concept, right? I really didn't.
Yeah, yeah.
So, so then they mocked me. So I only noticed that it was meant for in a negative way. They mocked me for not having the Adidas, not
Mm-hmm.
having Nikes. I'm like, but why? I still didn't get it. I'm like, shoes, also shoes, just more expensive shoes, like
Mm-hmm.
shoes. And like, so this was the first time when they made me realize that this world is made of people, not all of them, obviously, that love comparisons. For I didn't get the concept reason. So this is where I'm coming from. So I was always mocked for basically I was mocked for being poor. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing. And so what I wanted to show them is that I'm first of all not like them, which is why I hate assholes um in general.
Yeah.
And that I some kind of I will show them soon
Mm-hmm.
enough. Um in a villain way. So um and that actually drove me to trying to make money early. So which is why I actually started at the age of 11 with coding. So
Amazing.
I'm I'm like I'm gonna be Google or
Yeah,
like that.
that's awesome. Yeah.
Um and then I'll make a fast forward because else we're going to be here for 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Um So from there on, I learned PHP, MySQL. That was the standard thing back then. Um, and I actually learned it with video courses, which weren't too popular back then, but there was
Mm-hmm.
something that's nowadays it's lynda.com and then was bought from LinkedIn
Mm-hmm.
Learning. But back then it was in Germany, it was Video to Brain.
Mm-hmm.
Really simple name. So, and you
It's good.
actually
Yeah.
bought the DVDs. So it was like 30
Mm-hmm.
bucks. So you
Amazing.
bought the DVD, you went through it, and it was great. It
Yeah.
was just great, and suddenly I was in that context of PHP, MySQL, built. Basically, I completely automated a agency, which I don't know how I got in touch with them, but basically they
Mm-hmm.
used Excel, and I automated their whole company
Mm-hmm.
with PHP and MySQL. Um, and I learned a lot with that because I literally did everything from scratch, every single thing. Because I wasn't so much, I used an underlying framework, Cake
Mm-hmm.
PHP, but even back then, and that's super interesting, I think, even
Yeah.
back then, I was not content with some of the things that were there. I still
Mm-hmm.
remember there was no form validation that I thought was intuitive. So I probably will find it on my backup somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I built something that I called Fireform, which was basically you just added a few things in the HTML and the PHP went through it, added automatically, so to
Mm-hmm.
say, all of the validations you defined and checked those. So you basically had just like one thing where you had to define the stuff and you wouldn't have any if cases anymore in your code. So you wouldn't have to check it because you would just define the rules in
Amazing.
your HTML and
Yeah.
you could straight send it to the database.
Yeah.
So I already back then like
Yeah. Database
simplified
level,
this
row
stuff.
level. It's like the row
Yeah,
level security thing. Yeah.
somewhat.
Somewhat.
So
Yeah. That's right.
yeah,
Okay.
and then from there was actually that I went to university then, did the bachelor's, did some work on the side, which I always did, like
Mm-hmm.
even from there to now, same thing. And in between, I had the opportunity to work with a lot of amazing clients, to be honest, like I started in a advertising agency where I worked for Mercedes-Benz Bank, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and like travel B2B and whatever whatnot. So I feel like I haven't, but I feel like I have worked for all of the major ones,
Mm-hmm.
which also opened my mind like how these work and what I want and what I don't want. And I was a front-end architect, for example, for Mercedes-Benz because I worked for Mercedes-Benz, and there I was a front-end architect not because I didn't have, I
Mm-hmm.
obviously had back-end
Back
experience,
end. Yeah.
database experience, but it was just like the amount of work. So the amount of work in the front end alone was so huge
Mm-hmm.
that um we separated those fields because let alone the front end architect role like it was insane. It was insane. We
Yeah.
had like different frameworks which we had to connect and stuff like that, which was also a very interesting time. And yeah, then I basically went back to never come to an end. Um, this was already a fast forward, I have to mention.
That's fine. I'm
um,
listening. Yeah.
yeah, I just found that all of these big ones, no matter which ones, they numb me. They make
Mm,
me numb. It's I couldn't take it anymore. So I said, I actually back then I just quit it without any plan. So
mm,
now I'm having a plan, but like back then I quit it without a plan. I said like I'm done.
yeah.
Just I'm gonna leave.
Uh,
And I had the plan somewhat in the back of my mind to be self-employed. That was 2.5 years ago, I think. Then a company came along and said like, yeah, we need some support. You can
mm,
do it self-employed, you can do freelance, but we would love to hire you. And
mm,
this was the nicest company I've ever met in my entire life.
mm.
Um, it is they're ins I'm insanely grateful for them because I haven't thought I couldn't have imagined that something like this exists. Um, it's the kind of bosses that will tell you, instead of telling you, can't you get this done by
Mm,
end of business, they will tell you to just go to sleep, man.
mm.
So if they
Yeah.
see like you're not feeling well, they're
Yeah. Don't worry
pushing
about it.
you
Yeah.
to stop working and like
Mm.
come back the other day.
Amazing.
And it's like I've never experienced my life, that in my life. Always the opposite, actually, and that is great to see. And again, I'm grateful for that. And
Uh,
if at that point of time you're still thinking, um, I it draws me to something different. I have something different at the top of my mind,
mm.
then this is the moment where you have to realize that you should follow what's at the top of your mind.
Yeah, and the world pulls you, where you need to be, right? Like you give the world whatever 110% and gives you back like 150, right?
Yeah,
Like it's
right.
it's amazing how that works, like so your story is the story of, I guess, you started out like with very little kindness in your social sphere, and you kind of were motivated to prove yourself, I guess, to those peers. But then you kind of just excel and started attracting better people in your life, that you're at the point where you're like, who the hell am I proving this to? I'm just enjoying the journey and trying to attract better and better people, better and better opportunities in my life.
Right, right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I'm happy that I noticed this because I also see some people they're still thinking like the next money bump will make them happy, and then the next
Mm,
money bump will make them happy. And if they don't realize that money is great if you're having a great time,
mm.
but if you're not having a great time, you can have as much money as you want. Isn't It's not gonna help.
Absolutely. Yeah, attitude is key, and energy really. Like I don't want to get into the energy story again. Like I feel like everybody I talk to, I'm like, energy management. You gotta eat good. You gotta sleep good.
Mm,
You gotta
yeah,
exercise. You gotta do all these
yeah,
things. Because it does give you really great energy. Like not even like what people say, like, oh, sauna, cold plunge, 17-mile run, the heavy squats, deadlifts, all that. Like, not really. Just like a walk in the morning is great.
yeah,
You know, you,
yeah,
you feel you feel super. Like if you wake up, whatever, 30 minutes early and just go for a small walk, come back
yeah.
super refreshed. You do
Enjoy the
breathing
birds.
exercises or something. Yeah, with the birds,
Yes.
exactly. It's fun. Exactly. You get to see nature, all of that. Like Life is great.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So what's your dream? Like, okay, now you're in this position. What is the dream if you're gonna map it out?
Anything or business.
Anything, just like dream life. Like this is your story, right? It's unfolding, right? Like, what is like the dream, like the happy ending? Like what is the
Now you're talking about the ending.
no, like like in all stories, right? Like it's
Okay, so
they
well,
all live happily ever after. It's not like that is where all the life is, right?
yeah.
Like you
I'm
just
still not
witnessed
sure if
this.
I got your question right, but I will still answer it.
Yeah, yeah,
So, again, multiple ones. One of the dreams is actually if I had enough money again. You know me now, so you
yeah.
know that money
You need to
is
make
no thing.
yeah, you need to
Yeah,
make
but yeah,
millions of
in
dollars to
money,
get it out of your system.
yes, but money isn't in the top of my head. It's just
Yeah,
like part of the whole dream. Um,
yeah.
but I can still be happy without money, so that's not the
Mm.
problem. But if I had a lot of money, um, I would buy a small, um, I'm not sure how to call it, a small, not house really, but more like a where businesses are located. Like for example, I don't know, if you sell
Like
like
a
a sh
condo, like an apartment.
yeah, somewhat, but more like business related. What's it called then? Like if you, for example, just sell groceries, what's it called? Like that
Oh, like a
part of,
corner store.
yeah, so more like that. So for my I would buy something for my mom that she can open up her own
Nice. Yeah.
kindergarten.
Okay.
Because she always dreamed of a kindergarten which she is the boss of.
Uh,
And I would probably open up a cafe. Really, I want to do like a big one,
right.
which has multiple parts and spaces,
Okay.
because it should be somewhat co-working.
Hmm.
Um, which is where I also, because you mentioned it, will meet competent people, or at least new people, which will inspire me.
Hmm.
Um, and I will talk to them. I will
Yeah.
also serve coffee myself because I
Uh,
just love it.
yeah.
Um, and I will make croissants because I make great croissants, actual croissants, not
Okay.
like the cheap ones with like this cheap dough, but I actually
Yeah.
make like the
Hmm.
actual ones.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I learned doing those.
I mean,
So this is something that I would do. So something that allows me also like space. It would be a mixture of, because I always wanted my own working space, which is a little bit separate from my current situation, which
mhm,
is basically at home, which is
mhm.
totally cool. Like I
Yeah.
love that. Like nothing wrong with that. But if I could afford it, I would create such a space on my own, and that would
Yeah.
unlock even more, because
Yeah.
it would unlock, for example, the part of you said like fashion designers being
Mhm,
creative. It wouldn't just be like for coders.
mhm,
So there would be a space for people that want to do art,
mhm.
right? So it would be like a huge creative, it would be kind of like my small cafe in the form of a mini Silicon Valley somewhat. But
I like
more
it.
than just Silicon Valley, it's more because Silicon Valley is mostly tech,
Mhm.
it would expand to art as well. Because I love art. I just love
I
when
like it.
people.
So you want like let's say it's two floors, right? You want like the first floor to be like a chill co-working space slash cafe, and like second floor you want like basically art studio. You can have all the
Yes.
mediums, whatever, and then
Yes.
maybe the showcase and the cafe. There's like a gallery section or something like that.
Yes, that will
Yeah.
be great. And that would again also open up, because that's what people always want. It wouldn't need it at that point, but it would still be great. It would open up some sort of business which I would profit from. So not just from the cafe, but basically say like I would get like 5% of like any fashion sale, or 5% of any,
Hmm.
like any sale that was made basically in
Yeah,
the.
in the gallery. Yeah, I like.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
would be great. Yeah.
and you're making money from the kindergarten in the back from your mom.
Oh, true. Yeah. That would be great because people
Yeah,
could do their art stuff, could do their working stuff, and then there's like a kindergarten in the back, and it would all come
yeah,
together.
exactly. Kindergarten in the morning, and then
Yeah.
in the evening it becomes like a nursery.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
like supervised or something.
That would
Yeah,
be great. Yeah.
amazing. So now more business questions uh, in terms of your consulting. Who are you serving?
Companies that, well, even an individual is a company. Companies that have specific problems to solve, which probably most people would answer. But more specifically, I'm serving more companies that need my expertise in Superbase. So basically, for example, they don't know how to do optimized RLS. So I can help them do optimized RLS. They have questions if their RLS is secure. I can make them understand how to do it. And this is important. I think that's an important clarification here. I don't implement for clients. I do. So it's like a little bit paradoxical, but I always tell clients, I do tell them exactly this. I say, I help yourselves, because I don't want to spend as much time as a freelancer would. I want to spend as few time to help you solve the problem, and then I'll be gone. And that's why I need to be more expensive as well.
Mhm.
Because otherwise you're just gonna like book me for 30 minutes and I'm gonna be
Yeah, and you're
out.
hunting.
And
You're always in
yeah,
hunting mode.
yeah.
Uh, okay. This is a very bad answer. So people who want supervised expertise is like whatever, saying who's the target market for mice, and
Yeah,
you're
true.
like people who
People.
want mice. Right? So like that is not a target
uh,
market. Like
uh,
uh you
that's true.
we need to zero down
Mm,
more.
yeah.
Um, who wants supervised expertise? Like large, like let's say like a dentist office, no, right? Like local businesses and all of that, no.
People
Okay,
that want to scale their business.
so there we go. Scale from what size to what size?
Well, depending on, well, let's say what I did have first. So I did have actually very like zero money making companies which are about to make money, which booked me, as well as I did have companies which are already making money and try to basically 10x their money by having 10 times more users. So I have both of them, and they kind of like, also the interesting part is, well, that's a pricing part maybe, but like they both are partially also willing to pay the same uh amount of money to reach their goal to um more more money basically. But again, it's a little bit difficult right now to answer this, because there's the people that make zero money and are willing to pay for them to have a growing business, or a hopefully growing business. So software as a service
No,
most of
but
the
think
time,
about
or
your
B2B.
expertise, right? Like where is your expertise best utilized? Like what is the largest amount of money you can unlock is for what kind of company? What stage? Are they pre-seed? No, that's too elementary for you. Let's say customers, a number of customers they have, right? 1,000 customers. Is that too small?
Well, I had one which was paying well, which had like again, it depends what they price their customers, which had like 300 customers and they were paying well. So the amount of customers doesn't matter so much, more like the overall turnaround, I would say. Um,
Can you do it
the
by tables,
tables of what?
like database size? Can we do it by database size?
No, no,
Why not?
no, because that's like I have a bad comparison to make, but it's like saying like the more USB slots you have, the better your computer. It's not like I've seen very bad I've seen very bad implementations of like huge table sizes which could have been smaller and the other way around. So
Mhm.
there's no generic statement to make here. For example, like this
Ballpark.
one,
Let's do ballpark customers that are storing a lot of data, right?
yeah, the amount of data is more useful probably.
Like for
So
example, like Google has a good cross section, right? Like let's say Google Docs, you're storing things in like a document form. Google Sheets is another kind of business. Google Keynote is another kind of business. So like those are the kind of people that store data, or if it's social media, that's another kind of business. But it's mostly, very similar output if it's daily users, right? Like if you're
yeah,
serving a company that has daily active users, the daily actives, you know, are creating a lot of content. That they're storing a lot of data.
that's true. However, there's one thing I have to chime in here. It's a complicated topic because one of my beloved clients, which I really love working with, has like two clients right now himself. And this is because this is something I can basically narrow down most of the time. It's because it's B2B. So he is serving, he's selling a software as a service,
Mhm.
and he's making good money with just two clients. But he needed my expertise to help, for example, rule out potential issues. So this is another thing that I can pin down. There's many people that want to rule out potential issues. So they want to hire me before bad things happen. Um, when it comes to, in his case, it was when it comes to multi-tenancy. So he wanted to say like, I want to scale this to more clients. What should I do? What do I need to? It's like he doesn't know what he needs to do to make this right. So even if he does the right things, he doesn't know. So he needs me to be his advisor, and he pays me well. Um,
But he'll
so
find
and
you no matter that kind of client is he's gonna find you, right? We want
yeah,
to think about clients we can target, we can talk
okay.
to. You know what I mean? So they need to have a, a s- a problem that is identifiable, that is a certain size, that you can be like, hey, you have these symptoms. I know how to diagnose them, and I have what ails you. I have the medicine, right? So when you're thinking about companies that have problems that you're familiar with or you're equipped to solve, right? What is the ideal size company, or what is the ideal company? not the ideal company for you and who you like working with in terms of skill market fit. You know what I mean?
So not the ones that I want to work with, but like just the
Yeah,
ones that
let's
have.
let's let's not think about your preference for a second. You know,
Yeah.
definitely let's kind of massage it there. But for now, just as a kind of unbiased mathematical exercise, right? You're trying to find
Okay.
what is the maximum utility for your time is spent with what kind of customer.
The customers that actually want to, there's two parts of it. The customers that want to ensure that what they're doing is right, so auditing, their database. So that's why I said it's not the amount, it's not the size, it's what are you trying to solve? Like me asking, what is the company trying to solve? And then telling them what you did is great, which would be a great output, right? Or what you did is absolute shit and it's gonna bite you in the ass very soon.
And
So
this is your optimizing security and performance.
security and performance most of the time. Security and performance at the top of the hat. Yeah.
And then what about simplicity? Is that something you saw for too?
Yes, but that usually comes with security and performance combined, but that's part of it. Security, performance, and simplicity, because what you always need to achieve, and that's something that I also learned for myself the hard way. This is part of the experience, is
Mhm.
I've been at some point of time in my career where I said like I'm gonna make everything abstracted. So I followed the so-called try principle by all means. So
Mhm.
don't repeat yourself, right?
Mhm.
So I didn't repeat myself by no means so much at one point of time in my career. I don't know when it was, but I
Mhm.
remember basically it was kind of cool because everything was configurable. But the problem is once you try to separate things, it got
Mhm.
extremely complicated because you abstracted everything.
Mhm.
So what I learned is simplicity, what you said, is like I know where it absolutely makes sense to add redundancy, not just for performance, but sometimes it just makes sense to say like just copy paste it. You can
Yeah,
edit
like
this, you
developer
can.
experience. Like, do you optimize for
Yes,
developer
yes,
experience as well?
developer
Yeah,
experience. That's it.
yeah.
So DX, which is simplicity as well, and developer experience will add for the maintenance part. Um, and that again, the maintenance part will help also realizing and identifying security and performance issues and help solving them. Because that's most of the time. For example, I have one client which I have to work on today, very specifically, where I said, like, to be honest, given the maintenance, I can't rework this because I could, but you would spend more money if I reworked this than if I redid it from
Mhm.
scratch and adding simplicity to it. So yes, that's what I'm doing because at end of day, when I'm done, the clients will be like, okay, now I get it.
Amazing.
That
Okay,
makes sense.
that is what you do, right? Like that is
Yes.
in a nutshell what you do. You do database audits to uh, recommend security, performance, and simplicity enhancement.
Yeah.
Simplicity as it relates to developer experience and maintenance, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Most of the time,
who
yes.
who
And
needs that?
scaling, which is basically performance. Yeah.
Scaling, yeah, but
Uh,
scaling if they're using super basic scales, right? And then if you address all of these aspects, it's gonna
yeah.
scale.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So who needs this? Who needs this the most? Like I'll tell you how to think about this, right? You go from the top. Does Apple need this? No, because they have their own team, right? So all Apple-sized companies and levels of engineering teams are not gonna need you because they have in-house people.
Yeah.
At what point does the in-house person not exist? At what size company?
So my experience, to be honest, is like I have it on my website, the startups, which is um
Okay,
somewhat it differs, but it's like most of the time it's average 10 people, average 10, 20, it could be more, but it
but
depends on the
okay,
startup.
10, yeah, 10% startup. Uh, great, but even the 10% startup is too vague, right? Um, because you can have a 10% startup that's making $100 million, $10 million, and $10,000. Like
Yeah.
so. Is it? Let's do that. Then the income, like, what are they? What are these startups making in monthly revenue that won't have
I don't know the facts. I can
incentive?
just like assume like one that I've talked with um just recently I could only assume that they're making probably 5 million turnaround per year, I guess. But I
Okay,
can't,
so
I don't know. I don't know.
it makes sense. Like 5 million sounds reasonable to, like, yeah. Let's say less than $10 million, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that means let's call it $1 to $10 million, and
Yeah.
anything below that you should stop touching.
Hmm.
You know
Can
what I
I
mean?
ask clients just what's your turnaround?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And hey, what's your annual revenue? Like, or another way to say it is, why haven't you hired someone in-house?
Yeah.
That will reveal a lot.
Yeah.
You don't have to ask them straight. Well, you can ask them straight away. A lot of people do
Yeah.
because they want to know what kind of business they're working with, right? So, okay. So now we come to another thing, right? Like, let's go from the smallest side because the larger end you just multiply by 10, right? So $1 million company is either selling, like you're saying, it has 100,000 customers, right? Or 110,000 customers, or 1,000. You get it, right? Which one do you like working with more? Is it the B2B businesses that have larger clients, or the more consumer that are selling to more customers? Like, what's better for you, or where's your expertise best
Yeah, I'm
utilized?
just I'm just thinking. I think it's actually B2B. Just because of the experience that I made, but that has an implicit part, which is what I love is working with competent people because again, this is something that repeats. I help people help themselves. So I don't want to be your problem solver. Well, I'll be your problem solver helping you, but I don't want to be your everything burns, you have to fix it guy, right? So I want to enable the teams, but for that, I need competent people in that team, which most of the time I experience when you have a B2B business, then the companies have uh meteor to senior people um which are willing to learn. So this is how we best cooperate. And then they'll be like, okay, that's great. Yeah, I'm gonna try that. Then I'll try that. They come back to me, send me proper results. So there's a lot of communication, proper communication going on. So that is what I love which is most often with B2B businesses. Yes, I think
Yeah,
that's it.
then
Yeah,
you're talking about seed stage, Series A. If you're going to target people with money, you target people that have just raised seed money or Series A money, because, like you're saying, they're going to have a back end team, but they're not going to have a database gap, right? The back end guy is building the stuff. He's doing the queries.
right,
He's like
right.
he's not optimizing the whatever, and you just being a consultant, on retainer even for 10 teams, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You're good income wise. Uh, so I think we kind of nailed it down in terms of the kind of business. Oh, obviously, businesses that have the industry part is not just tech, though, because
No.
a lot of industries have data needs and use computers, obviously.
Yes, and
So
that's the interesting part. That's what I love, actually, like working for travel and like whatever it might be, everything that needs data in the end of the day.
yeah, but yeah, seed stage, Series A, I think you're you're golden. And when you're working in these kinds of businesses, you're working um, with the with the development team. Who are you working?
Most of the time. So there's three modes
Yeah,
which I can nail down.
yeah.
There's one mode uh which I do from time to time, for example today, but I don't like it as much. Is like somebody has an urgent problem. That's most of the time the background of that. And they'll be like, one guy said like, we got hacked
Hmm.
because of bad RLS policies, and the other one said like, which is right now, like the RLS policies perform really bad because of the bad implementation. So there was like someone who didn't know how to do it,
Hmm.
and this is where I will implement, but with a meeting afterwards telling them what has been done. So it's not going to be like I'm going to implement your slider, but it's going to
Hmm.
be very, very specific skill work,
Hmm.
right? So this is I've done it, and I'll show you then afterwards why I've done it the way I've done it. So
But who's
you
the
are
role you're working with? Is it the CEO? Who are you working? The CTO?
in this case, it was the CEO with who had someone at hand who is basically just a normal developer, so doesn't have like database specific knowledge. So that's that part most of the time, and that was the same for the RLS, like the hacked one. He was a developer, but he didn't have that specific knowledge. Same thing. So
These are
this is where
small. These are small companies. I'm assuming
yes,
tiny company.
yes, tiny
Yeah,
companies.
yeah. This is
And then
you're
then
not gonna do
when
that anymore.
I the other way of working is usually that I work with, most of the time it's just again, they can be bigger companies, but most of the time it's part of the company that is doing a specific thing.
Hmm.
So for example, for a bigger company, it was just two developers which I worked with, of which again only one really was active and the other one like was just listening most of the time.
Hmm.
And but he implemented everything and it was great. So I told him, no, I wouldn't do it like that. So he basically went like, I got this one. Can you please review it? And like, I wouldn't do this. I would do that. And we have this way of working where I say like, we should have a meeting about that. So I explain you what to do and stuff like that. So I advise them. But most of the time, even if it's bigger companies, I work with one or two guys max, which are
The
both
developer and the
developers.
CEO.
Yes, most of the time the developers, and then maybe the CEO chimes in, but not too often. So actually, it's most of the time just the
But who
developers.
buys? Like, how does the sales cycle work?
Most of the time, it's the developers that find me, and
And then
then
tell the
basically,
CEO.
yes,
Mm.
yes, yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Will a
Sometimes
C-
it's the CEOs though, but then it's again smaller companies. So that's what I
but yeah,
notice.
then they don't understand this stuff. Like it's because I see the problem here. Is a CT? Have you worked with a CTO before of a company?
As a freelancer, no.
But as an employee, yes.
Yes.
And when you were as an employee working with a CTO, did they seem to have database problems, like the database optimization problems?
Never, to be honest. But not because they didn't have it, but because the CTOs that I knew were in a more high level position to lead the company into like directional
Mm,
like setting the direction. So basically, like I even met CTOs that were years of actual development, which I don't think is great, but they still had the capability of listening to basically the leads, the team leads, the single
mm,
team leads, and basically processing that information from the team leads and making decisions. So most of the times I experience CTOs as decision makers,
mm,
but the actual proposal for decision came
mm.
from the team leads because they were involved in the active part. And the CTO is more like, I don't think we should do that in the long term because if you're thinking that your team is going to implement that, like the other team is going to suffer and stuff like that. So most of the time I experience it as more high level. But
I see. Because you worked
they
in
themselves,
big companies.
yeah, they themselves never had issues. So they would never come up with issues. They would rather like resolve the issues the team leads
Mm.
provided.
Okay, so now there's a problem because now it means the 1 million, 10 million is not a thing, right? It means that the problem you're solving doesn't have a market outside small teams.
Probably. Well, at least from the perspective of the CTO, yeah,
Because
most of the
if you
time.
think about it, right? Like if it's a 20-person team, you're saying the CTO would rather get some team lead to figure it out rather than
Most of the
hire out.
time, but then again, that's a little bit narrowed view because my experience is there's like saying what you're saying, just to be fair, is a little bit into the direction like someone proposes a startup idea and you're saying like I don't think this has a target market. And I'm saying, as you know, all of the time, everything has a target market if you're convinced of it. So the thing is,
No, no, that's not what I'm
the
saying. What I'm saying is like for example, I used to do brand strategy consulting.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. And in my brand strategy consulting, there are very few people that want just brand strategy.
yeah,
It doesn't mean brand strategy is not valuable. It's just if I did brand strategy and logo designs,
yeah,
the market is 10 times bigger, 100 times
yeah,
bigger.
yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? If I did brand
yeah,
strategy and logos and all of this, it becomes a much more valuable offering,
yeah,
as a point of contact as a company. I'm like, hey, you can solve this branding problem for me? No, I can just solve the brand strategy problem. Okay, I'm going to, you know what
yeah.
I'm
I
saying?
get that.
Like there's
Yeah,
an alternative. So at this point, just databases sounds like just a piece of the puzzle. So it's not a matter of, there's no target market, because trust me, I'm coming from a place of like I've messed around with this and like I know what it means to have a super valuable skill set, but not the right offering.
mm, mm.
You know what I mean?
So yeah, yeah. There's a thing you must not forget. I get where we're going. It's
Yeah.
just I want you to keep it in mind. Um, My goal is not, in the long term, my goal is not to be um dependent on that service alone. It's gonna be part of, because we talked about it, like the two things, the
Mhm.
two tracks I'm running. I want to build a product which is part of the income. So let's just keep in mind that the idea is to have, let's just do 50-50 for now. Like part of the income, like 50% from the consulting and 50.
100, bro. Like that can make a ton of money and this can make a ton of money.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. I get
so,
it.
so when you're thinking about this, because I want to solve this puzzle with you, right? Because I think there's a lot to be gained here, right? Um,
I think it can help if I tell you that what else usually clients request from me and what I do and what I also love doing is, it's not just the database part. It is, for example, I kickstarted one basically zero employee company in the following way. There was the CEO, and he had a plan, and he had some investment to make. So he I basically kickstart the startup in terms of architectural, like I made a architectural diagram, so to tell like this is what we will need to solve that
mhm.
problem, in which way. So I did the architecture. I made stack decisions, which is important. It's not so important which stack in the end it is, but it's important to make decisions. I'm a decision maker. Um, and I helped him hire the team. So basically, I kickstarted the whole startup in like, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I don't know. And this is something that I'm also very good at. Like the part of now the question is just how it comes together. But with all of my companies, I work in a mentorship way with all of them.
It
So
sounds, bro, like
mentorship,
you're the best client for you would be like an accelerator,
true. Yeah,
just because you have a very high level skill set, but it's kind of not a big commitment, right? Because you can just go in, you set it up, you consult, you kind of, like you said in the beginning, like you activate them, you enable them,
yeah,
to kind of take control of their database. You give them the right tech stack decision making and the architecture and all of that, and they're on their merry way. So like finding a bunch of accelerators that'll keep
true.
you on board for like whatever, like they have cohorts, right? So
Hmm.
you charge them per cohort, like whatever 20-person cohort, you charge them whatever 50 grand per accelerator, and you just like maybe like a business model like that is
That's
more
true. That's true. Yeah,
is
that
more
sounds
worth your
like
time, you know?
something. Yeah, that sounds like something reasonable. Yeah, yeah,
Especially if you design content around that.
yeah. Because the problem is, and this is also what I'm saying all of the time to the company, is because I'm in that like helping to help themselves part. It's not the problem of finding competent developers. It's a problem of realizing the issues to come. This is why very competent people booked me, because they were ultra competent, right? So, and they booked me for the reason to challenge them, right? And this is, so it's not a problem of not having competent people. It's more like we want to use your experience. We want to do the things right so that we don't have to do it 2 times. We want to make sure that it scales well.
So you know how like there's pen testing for
Come again?
hackers, penetration testing for
Yeah,
hackers?
yeah, I know. Sure thing. Yeah, I know what that
Yeah.
is.
so it's like it just okay, is your everything secure? Your app is secure? Are you revealing data or whatever? But maybe you offer a service like that that can it scale, like a scaling test.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You know what I mean?
true,
Because
true.
that is just a different packaging
Yeah, true.
around your skill set that is more appealing in terms of because what creates urgency? Urgency is not just, oh, I'm gonna fear of missing out. It's also about capturing opportunities that exist now. So it's like, hey, can you scale? And if it's an early company, they want to know, will it scale? Like something around there, and you can also arrange content around that. Like we're
That's
gonna,
true. Yeah,
you
that's
know,
true.
will it scale? Scaling this. But yeah,
Mm.
those are the kind of two things I feel like where it is good if you go to like a whatever a Series A company, right? That has 1,000 customers. Hey, can you handle 1 million customers? Do you have like you don't have to think of the headache later. You can just
Yeah, yeah,
fix it now and solve,
yeah.
So yeah, the Willet scale and the accelerator ones, do you have like a lot of accelerators in Germany or things like accelerators,
Um,
incubators?
I can't tell you because I don't know, and when I don't know,
Okay.
I,
Yeah,
I
you
can't
need to
state a
look
fact,
into it.
but
Yeah, yeah, for
but
sure.
I will have to look into it for sure because this is a great market to be honest, like the German accelerators, which is a win-win for me because there's not so much German experts, especially not with like database scaling and Superbase.
Yeah.
And like and then accelerator part, yeah, that's something I should look into in the German accelerator market, to be honest.
Yeah, and
That's
the
a win-win
language
for me.
there
Yeah,
you have like the language advantage,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
easy for you to communicate with them. Them
Big
communicate with
time.
you, and boom,
Yeah,
boom, boom.
yeah, yeah. True,
All right.
true. Very true.
Okay. So, okay. I was gonna say what are their pains, but at this point you don't know because you're still exploring.
Yeah.
And we kind of talked about it. Uh, I have a question that's like, what is the magic trick? But before we talk about the magic trick, we need to crystallize the services that we're exploring in this conversation, right? We got database audit, which is what you used to do, right?
Mm. Yeah.
And then we have uh, scalability test,
Mm.
scalability testing,
Mm.
and then we got basically the I'm gonna say the startup package. Uh, let's call it the startup architecture package because it sounds fancier,
Mm.
which is the stack decision,
Yeah.
hiring,
Yeah.
how to
Yeah.
hire, what
Yeah.
kind of team they need,
Yeah.
how can they scale, the whole thing like that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that one you can sell per startup or in bulk to an accelerator, right?
That's
So
true. Yeah.
let's take it one by one. If you're gonna do a magic trick or show a magic trick for the database audit, what would it be? Like if a customer goes and you want to show them a magic trick, and they're like, "Wow, what would that be for the database audit?"
It's a great question because actually that's something like I know what you're saying. Like I would just call it USP in a very, very old-fashioned sense, but um it's something that I'm having a hard time to tell my clients. Like I know what I can do, but it's like if you ask me, like you do right now, is like mm,
Mhm.
like mm,
Yeah.
just let me do it, and it's hard to explain. Like
But
I
it's
can't
it's
just
the
say
before
like
and
I
after showing.
yeah,
Like, hey,
yeah, I know, I
see
know,
this?
I know,
See,
I
yeah.
know, I know.
What is it?
So it's a great question to prepare stuff like that. Um, there's multiple things you can do. One thing is, for example, prepare a database. Even if it's just like a table with like a billion entries, and go like, see, I query that in like 20 milliseconds. Have you ever
Mhm.
seen that? Try that. Try that on your own. Try making a query in 20 milliseconds, then come back and see if you made it. So
Mhm.
something like that. But that's just one part. It can
Yeah,
also be
query
like,
time. Query time. By the
yeah,
way, you want to talk to people like they're small always.
yeah, yeah.
Query time is a fantastic one. What else? Query time before after. What else?
Um, simple role management. That is what people struggle with, to be honest. Like,
What is the before and after visual for that?
before is probably when people have like multiple tables, and like where like this user is admin, this user is developer, this user is whatever. So they have their role system somewhat architected, and then you look at the RLS, and it's like, would you understand that if I show it to you? And it's like, no, I don't understand a single thing because it's super complex. And then I'll show them like my solution, which is like, is admin, something like that.
Yeah.
And so it would be like, this is how you can actually solve uh role
We
role
needed more.
management.
Query time is hits the pain point, right? Like the pain point is slow.
Yeah,
No.
sure. But
With
simplicity,
with two numbers, you can show that I can relieve that pain point.
yeah.
With rows, what is the pain?
Complexity, solving complexity with simplicity. Basically, you're
That's what
solving.
you're doing, but what are they feeling? What is the pain? If I have a messed up,
We like the underlying question is, we don't know how to implement a role-based system. That's the underlying question. That's not easy to tell, I know, but that's the underlying question. Is like offer authorization, not authorization.
yeah, permissions like role based systems. You're right, but what I'm saying is, in your example, the messed up role based table, right? What pain does that cause?
Well, it. Uh,
It's ugly to look at. Yeah,
Complexity of maintenance, like the developers are slower in implementing things because they themselves don't understand the it
but
takes
is the
longer for it takes longer for it takes longer for changing the system. For example, you can't just add like a new role because it's
okay?
like
Dev time. How?
yes.
What do you? How much do you improve that, or what can you show? Like, how can you demonstrate that you're reducing dev time?
By showing a simple sample like, here's my table and this is how I add a new role and this is how I can use it, so it
Can
takes
you
me
show an
like
example like that?
one
Like,
minute. Yeah,
like adding a feature with a certain role
yeah,
in your system and in someone else's system side by
yeah,
side.
yeah, 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 that would
What
be possible.
yeah, what kind of example can you think that is like that?
Well, I would take exactly that example, like the naive example, which many people do and which I see often, like the basically the complex RLS, which goes like select blah 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 from blah blah blah, which is okay, you can do that, but it's complex. And then once they need to add something new, like I could ask the client like, okay, so how would you do it? You would have to rework it. And in my case, I would just be like, I have that one table where the roles are defined, and I can use one
I mean,
function.
can you put it into a visual example, like in a to-do list, in a multiplayer to-do list, right? This is how easy it is to add a permission using my system, and this is the classic way of doing it. Is there a way
Yeah.
you can show something like that?
Yeah, I could do something like that by just using like a function that abstracts this and makes it very performant. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
But
yeah.
you showing it as it pertains to an app that they're used to using.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
I could come
Notion
up with that.
or
Yeah.
To Do
Yeah.
or something like so that they can be
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
It takes this long to do it with the regular way and with Dave's way. Boom. So
Yeah.
dev
Yeah.
time is another one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh Feature permissions. Okay.
What I could show for the scalability testing is like this is, by the way, easy thing actually.
Mm,
There's the explain analyze in SQL, right?
mm,
So I can just show like explain analyze. This is what happens when you don't optimize, and explain analyze of a non-optimized joins, for example, like a
mm,
view that is not optimized. And this is the explain analyze. This is real facts, just
mm,
straight facts. This is what happens if you hire me to scale, and I have you have two explain analyze, very
mm.
straightforward.
Okay, the startup architecture package. Is there
Oh yeah, I think that can be. I'm not sure if there's a magic trick, but I think we can easily visualize that. Like, we can somewhat. What do you think about the diagram? Like the usual, like this is how usual startups like you take time for this,
mm,
and this ends up like, and then you discuss this, then you rethink this, and blah blah blah. And I could just say like, or you let me architect your you let me be your decision maker somewhat, and then you have it like in I'll analyze your business requirements because I'm really good at that. I'm really good at talking to CEOs and
mm,
analyzing business requirements. And after like latest 1 week, I can even do it earlier if I have all business requirements straight, but latest 1 week you have all of the decisions made, and the architecture, the high level architecture made. So I can do this comparison like, usually
yeah, comparison
it goes
table.
like this.
I like.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. What are the quality factors that customers are going to judge your product by
Quality factors that customers are gonna judge my product by.
or your service?
I, I would say probably responsiveness and communication most of the time, because that's what people seem to love about me, and explaining the things that I'm doing. So I justify the things that I'm doing and why I'm doing that. And even in that one startup where I basically kicked off the startup, I also very clearly said like, to the people like some of the developers we hired, and said like, why didn't we do it like that? And I said very clearly, so this is part of the communication. Like, there's no sense. I
Mm,
get your idea and I appreciate it, but there's no sense at this stage that we reevaluate those things because there's
mm,
no downside. And if you can come up with a downside that we're having, if you can come up with a definitive problem that we're also
mm,
going to experience in the future, there's not even a not even a single sense in taking time in reevaluating this decision because it doesn't add benefits. So I'm
mm.
really good in communication. So, and this is what customers usually judge me for,
Yeah, so
and the
responsiveness,
result as well,
justification,
obviously.
results,
But that's
obviously.
that's more that's more obvious. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. And judging just from the outside, not from the actual experience, like what are they looking for?
I would say a decision maker. This is something people struggle with, and I think everyone struggles with, but they love having someone who also says no, it's all right. Like not just
Mhm.
it's all right, but also challenges it sometimes, but also like this decision is solving that problem,
But
right?
what will make them say wow? Like when
Well,
you
in one case it was just like in most of the cases it is, but actually, for example, for example, let's take the our last part where they said like, okay, wow, it is that easy, not that easy to implement, but is like the solution is that maintainable, that understandable. So there's
Mhm.
like the wow effect. Or in the other case for the performance part, it was like, wow, we aimed for billions of rows,
Mhm.
but the side effect that we're having is like that everything else is 400% faster.
Mhm.
Everything else, like that
Amazing.
wasn't even a plan. And these are the and the third thing I would say is like actually that people just, again, I hate assholes and
Mhm.
I'm very good to talk to, and I think just people love that I don't I'm extremely communicative. They just love the fact that I'm good to talk to and I challenge their ideas. I'm not mad if they say like, isn't that, if they challenge my ideas, then I don't, I'm not mad, because there's some people that then suddenly go mad and think their expertise is criticized, but it's just like a way of collaboration, right? So I think these three things most of the time, and the amount of knowledge that I collected over time, that's something that I hear often is like, you got not just depth, but you got like
Mhm.
very broad knowledge.
Yeah, it's more than that. You got like an ocean, like you're vast, like it's so deep. Um, all right. So when you want to think about inciting incidents, so an inciting incident in storytelling is kind of like um, Super Mario, right? When Bowser comes and steals Peach, that is the inciting incident. That starts Mario on his adventure to rescue Peach.
Mm-hmm.
Before Bowser stealing the princess, everybody's living. There's nothing. There's no inciting incident. There's no call to adventure. So, with your customers, what is that inciting incident? What is the moment? What happens that makes them say, shit, we need to find someone to figure out our situation? Whether it's,
Mm.
if you want to take it one by one, do the database audit, like databases, scalability, and startup architecture
Well,
plan.
oh, that's complicated. Okay, we can take it one by one.
Yeah.
Database audit. It
Hmm.
is something, actually, that moment is when experienced people, and I
Hmm.
think that's the important part, is also like the guy who I'm criticizing the most on Twitter
Hmm.
isn't that kind of guy. Because it's experienced people that actually want their stuff challenged. They don't trust, because that's what makes skilled people not go like it's good enough, but it's like skilled people coming to me and saying like, um, I'm not sure if this is gonna solve the problem in the long term. I'm not sure if I've done it the right way. Can you challenge it? So it's
Hmm.
not like if none of those clients for which I did the database audit, I would have said, this is complete trash. None of
Hmm.
them. And this is important. I did have proposals all of the time, obviously, and they could optimize with my
Hmm.
help, but that's important. So it is the inciting moment is more or less the part where they go like they have something, but they want the approval or challenge for it to is like you build a house and you want to make sure it doesn't fall apart.
You're like the inspector. I love this house metaphor.
Right.
You're like an inspector.
Yeah. Yeah.
You go in, you're like, hey, okay,
Yeah.
good.
Right.
On to the next phase. I love this metaphor for you.
Yeah.
Like a house inspector or building
Hmm.
inspector.
Yeah.
Man, that was a good one. Um, do
What
you
was
want
the
to
next
do
one?
scalability testing?
Yeah. That is that can happen for two parts. The first one can be the same. So it can be like someone is not sure if it's gonna hold, if it's gonna hold strong with the amount of users to be expected or whatever. Uh, but the second one, unfortunately, more often, is like we're facing somewhat severe or not so severe issues when using our database. Like we sometimes have timeouts, and it also shows in the query logs that
Hmm.
some queries are very slow, and we don't really know why. That is very
Yeah,
specifically
amazing.
most of
There's
the time that's the
so
case.
what's a query? A query log is like you
There's,
have.
for example, you can have this in in Postgres as well, but
Yeah.
in Superbase it's even in the visuals. You can go to there's this audit part where also
Mhm.
security stuff is showing up, and there's like the longest running queries,
Oh,
whatever,
amazing.
and there will show that, for example, if you have a simple query and it shows like on average it runs like for 5 seconds, something is odd.
Mm. Yeah,
But
that's
that
good.
again, which is
Mhm.
interesting, once more, requires at least a little bit of knowledge. So the type of guy that I'm criticizing doesn't even go there. So that
Mhm.
type of guy will not be my client, very
Can't
obviously.
you sell us as a piece of software that analyzes the Superbase dashboard and just surfaces stuff as like a one hit service?
Yeah, in theory, I would rather, yeah, maybe. But it probably makes more sense than to sell the service doing it on my own and like also have a look in the
But
database.
it's a
I don't know.
diagnosis thing. It's
I
bringing
know,
them on the
but in
radar.
theory, I know in theory it's already available in Superbase. So it is very visibly available in Superbase. It's just a knowledge thing. So it would be rather part of my. It would be even a newsletter thing. Just go there and look at it, or a small video. But it
I know,
wouldn't
but
be worth.
there's a simplicity about putting your API keys or whatever,
Yeah,
and you get a security report where you don't have to look for anything. Like just the simplicity of it makes it.
I get it. I
It's
have to
yeah.
think about it. It's
Anyways,
just like I would feel like I would just like copy paste
yeah, you don't have
what's
to sell
already
it.
there.
It can be free. It can be like
Oh, okay. I
yeah,
see. Yeah, that's
it
true.
can be
Yeah.
like website grader for HubSpot.
Yeah. True. True.
You
True.
know what I mean?
That's
Like it's
true.
just a
Yeah.
it's a place to collect leads and stuff.
Yeah. True.
Uh, I like this diagnosis app. Okay. And the last one was the startup architecture package. Obviously, yeah, inciting incident is I need to build a team and figure out this situation. Yeah, it's scaling from one to many. All right. Okay, there's a super villain, 100 times better, Dave.
A
Super node.
super villain.
Yeah, super node. It's not active node, super active node. Okay,
Okay.
and he's a
But
hundred times.
he's
He's your
my
nemesis.
okay.
Okay,
All right.
describe that person. And he's like 100 times better at everything you do.
Everything I'm doing.
Yeah, in terms as it relates to business.
Okay, that's hard. Um, oof. Uh, he would do the things in like, well, you said 100 times. So as a maths person, I would say like in 100 times faster. But it's just like, okay, let's not be so much math focused.
Yeah.
He would like, for example, like when I do redo, for example, RLS for that client, it wouldn't take him, I don't know, 4 to 8 hours, but it would take him 1 hour for whatever reason because he like just looks at stuff and like understands it immediately and has found ways to whatever to just like make it happen in 1 hour, whichever way. Um, he would he would do database scaling. He would solve database scaling issues with probably somewhat of a tool. Like I have this tool. He has built that tool.
Hmm.
Um, where he goes like whichever way it works, which goes like I've analyzed the whole database and here's my proposal and I can like propose
Oh,
at
he's
least the
automated.
changes.
He
Yeah,
has
he can.
automations
Yeah,
for all
yeah,
your
yeah. And
many levels.
he goes like this tool has analyzed the database and has found the problems that need to be solved and now proposes in less than 2 hours a scaling architecture. Um, then he has also automated analyzing business requirements, even though I like the human part, but that
Mm.
villain somehow convinced clients to talk to a machine or somewhat an
Well,
AI.
let's not go too fictional. Like imagine someone who's doing like whatever what you're doing, but is making 100 times the revenue, right? What are they doing differently?
Pushing a lot of content. And by only that content, there comes in a lot of opportunities, let it be advertising opportunities for the newsletter, advertising opportunities for YouTube, um, whatever it might be, like teaching opportunities, which is, by the way, a great thing in between when people just say like, we don't even need you to solve our startup problem. We just want you to come for 50K for 2 days, 3 days, I don't know what, to our university and teach the students there how to do stuff the way you're doing it.
This is an
Like
amazing opportunity. How did we not think of this? Just
yeah,
who cares about uh yeah, who cares about students? You can go to corporations and
yeah.
teach courses. Do you have curriculum for that?
No.
You should start developing.
Yeah.
Or you should advertise it and get forced
I
to
know.
develop
I
curriculum
had
for
one
them.
opportunity planned for January, but due to there was an unfortunate situation. I would have had the opportunity, but there was an unfortunate situation that the company was restructured, and due to the
Ah,
restructuring, it didn't make sense anymore. So
mm,
I would have had my first, but it's something that I love doing. Yeah.
that's cool. Yeah.
So so
What else is he doing?
that person um is yeah there's so much connected with content like that
Yeah,
person is
yeah.
doing
Tell
a
me.
podcast, for
Okay.
example, which I'm, by the way, all I already got in touch with 4 people, so I'm
Tell you.
starting the podcast
Fantastic.
in January. um One of them is also a known person, which I'm very happy that he said yes. So
Hey.
I'm very, very much looking forward to this. Um, but yeah, uh, what else content wise? Pushing more newsletter stuff, pushing more YouTube videos, and making courses, obviously. Um, podcast courses, YouTube, newsletter. Um,
Okay, so what is one thing you can do for the next 10 years? Let's say you just focus on one thing so that you can beat this super super active node. If you're going to focus on one
YouTube.
YouTube. Oh,
Yeah. I can
amazing.
grow YouTube infinitely. I know that. I know that. That's a fact. Just
Amazing.
by looking at the numbers, I can
Yeah,
do it.
it's great, bro. All right. Because since you like art, I'm going to pick this. Describe the most genius artist.
Oh, I thought there wasn't a whole question. That's the whole question. The
That is, yeah,
most
that's the
genius artist. To be honest, I can't even put a name on it. Like it's the Leonardo da Vinci somewhat. Um he's an artist of all arts. He's like he just was a genius in all fields, to be honest.
what do
And
you
it's
admire about
like
him?
the kind of detail and the truth part probably in it, like because he wasn't like he wasn't doing fiction, he was building fiction into reality. He was making things happen, right? He was actually building the stuff. um he he was a theoretical guy, both like both at the same time a practical guy. um he just loved, he very obviously loved what he was doing, and he always aimed for more, aimed for going even more into detail and expanding more into the possibilities of what life can offer.
I love it. What is the most genius art duo?
Come again?
Describe the most genius art duo.
That's hard. Should it actually exist?
No, it can be totally imaginary.
Hmm. It would be, I think it would be one person that is like in a way has ideas like you would imagine he took LSD.
Mhm.
Just like totally outer space ideas.
Yeah, psychedelic guy. Okay.
Yeah. Um Combined with a guy like Leonardo da Vinci who is capable of catching the realness and
Well,
mm, doability. And I think this duo would create amazing things and even try out things that haven't been tried before.
love it. If you were gonna have a logo, why would anyone wear a hat with your logo on?
Because they embrace the way I'm doing things. They embrace and support um not not necessarily my content in itself, because they might just love the content, but they might more love the person behind it, like the
What are they liking? If they like the way you do things and they like the way you're delivering your content, what are they like?
I think they like that they sense the authenticity. They know that I'm not just duplicating, stealing content, whatever. They know I'm a trustworthy guy. And they, in a world full of I'll just say traders. In a world full of traders, they love someone holding on to integrity whilst providing useful content. And I think this is a combination um, that not all people love. There's some people that just love the asshole kinds, which is all
Mm.
right. But those are not gonna be my fans. So the fans are gonna be the ones that love integrity and authenticity combined with technical expertise.
So there's this movie called Spartacus. It's an old movie. Have you seen it?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Spartacus. Oh, Spartacus. Yes.
Yeah, the old movie.
Yeah.
There was a show, but there's the scene in it where, because Spartacus was, a slave who freed the slaves and, raised an army and then fought the Romans. And there's this scene where they capture the army, right? The Romans capture the army and they say, hey, reveal
Yes.
to us who Spartacus is, and we will spare the rest of the army. And then one person goes and says, I am Spartacus. The next person, I am Spartacus. And the whole
Yeah. Yeah.
army is,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am
Yeah.
Spartacus.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, they're standing for like freedom, and all that. What is your, like, if there was an army of that you led, right? And they're like, reveal to us, and everybody's, I am David, right?
hmm
What is that thing they're standing for? Why would they sacrifice their life for that identity?
Integrity and the belief in a world that can be led without being an asshole. So a world that leads to a better world without the requirement of being an asshole.
I like it. Does that what integrity means to you? Is not being an asshole? Like, what is,
No,
or
it's more like integrity to me means is that you're convinced that of doing the right things, and you're convinced that sticking to this, even if it's hard, will keep your authenticity and will also tell other people who you are, and it will show other people that you hold up values, and if they share the same values, they're gonna trust you.
like,
So that's integrity for me, because so many people out there just like give up integrity for money, which I would never do, because this again will make you unhappy.
yeah, money, fame, a lot of reasons. Batman, Batman,
Yes,
uh,
sure.
has a bat signal when crime is there, and he shows up whenever there's crime. If there was a bat signal, or Dave, what is it signaling? What is it?
It just shows the Superbase logo.
Super bass logo, whatever. Yeah, that's so funny. Super bass. I
It
like
shows
it.
the Superbase logo, and people
Yeah,
know that I'm here.
yeah, I like it.
I normally don't sell myself to brands in the
Yeah,
sense of that I'm sticking to it so much, but
yeah.
they haven't disappointed so far. And I'm still
Mm,
saying this, I have to say it. I keep my integrity high. So if ever Superbase disappoints, I will
mm.
move off, but they
Yeah,
didn't so far.
good. That's good. All right. What's your next three steps?
Next three steps are very clear, to be honest. One I didn't, one nobody knows about yet. But
You don't have to
okay,
reveal.
okay. It's a course though.
Okay, nice.
It's not a super base course, so
That's fine.
yeah.
That's great.
And it's keeping the newsletter high. This is very important to me.
Mhm.
I just really can't do it. I really can't this day and tomorrow because I have this client project to finish.
Mhm.
But I will definitely do it latest Friday, latest. Um, and the third part is starting with the podcast with one very, very important part. This is crucial for me and for my happiness.
Mhm.
I didn't start the podcast for marketing reasons. That's part of it, but I didn't start it for that reason. I started it because I love talking to people, for example, like you, um, and I want to keep it fun. And the rest comes with itself if people notice that I'm doing this because I like it. Um, but this is very crucial for me. I have to remind myself that I don't want to like the podcast is part of the whole thing, but it should be the one thing that I most enjoy doing because I love talking to people. And it's not gonna be like exploited, so to say. It's gonna be the part where I invite people that I love to talking to.
I love it.
Um, and yeah, so that's the whole idea behind it. I'm doing it because I want to do it.
I like it. It's like Joe Rogan, basically. It's the same reason why I do it too.
Yeah,
Um, like I just have people that I like talking to. Like
yeah,
I'm like fascinated by on Twitter, and I'm
right.
like, and
Exactly.
we
It should be
vibe.
fun.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Okay, last question. You have the second piece of paper.
Yes.
Same question. Imagine your life at peak impact.
Yeah.
Take a step back, shake off the first everything, all the worries, all the. Imagine your life at peak impact. I want you to draw your impact at that moment.
Okay. It's a simplistic one though.
Show me. Tell me.
Um, it actually comes back to that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why can't we read it now?
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah. I love it.
So it's basically the I draw the circle with an intent. So there's still the sun because I want that positivity and that light that shines above everything. But the circle there is there for a reason because the circle stands for the wholesomeness and the completeness. And within that building, there's a garden somewhat here,
Mm-hmm.
which is for the fun part. Well, anyways,
Mm-hmm.
but within that building, all the good things take place: podcast, recording, programming, coding, teaching, enjoying coffee, whatever.
I love it. Amazing. That's it, bro.